Hey, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you run into Roseanne Rabiola, Miele, and myself, coming at you to try to give you some information that we think is pertinent, important, that we somehow, I don't know, walk between the raindrops of your media feed, so to speak, and then somehow impact your brain to where it's like, boom, these
Oh,
guys have got information I want to pay attention to and I want to be a part of their family.
and
Because
it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's approximately 6:30 Vegas baby time. And by the way, I keep seeing articles that Vegas is really sucking wind at the moment, and that's always a indication that stuff's going sideways. And we saw the market very volatile today. I don't know where it ended up, but I know it dropped like a stone earlier today because you know, these business sections are always like, well, is it tariffs? Is it uncertainty? Is it Trump's, infusion of the Fed, blah, blah, blah? Or is it what we know? Go ahead.
And you're saying Vegas, kind of dropping in tourism. I've seen two different numbers in decline. And yesterday, I'm out, not yesterday, day before yesterday, I'm out in the street and it was pretty hot. When it's 110, it's now 105, 110. Not so bad. We're not dying, suffering. But we fed a lot more people there than we usually do. And as I'm feeding these people, you know what I see? I see a big expensive sign and it says, "Welcome to the historic West Side." That's all vacant land, no housing, no affordable housing, vacant land, people setting up tents here, there, and everywhere. And I got people coming at us, just really nice people that I've gotten to know over, well, the years I've been doing it, but there's more people now. And I'm seeing fancy dancy signs, and I look up and I see a new hotel, Circa. I see this one. I see the old El Dorado. I look around, all the glitz and glamour, empty land, people suffering. I mean, you got to be, man, if you're in 110 degrees all day long, it's like sticking your head in a freaking oven and it's just blowing on you. Okay? How can we allow that? I can't allow that. I know I'm only putting a band-aid, but still, I can't let that go like that. Okay? So yeah, Vegas is suffering, but they don't give a shit. What do you think you think they care? Hey, bring on the NASCAR. Is that what they call it? NASCAR or some kind of fancy dancy race that they have? Look, I look straight ahead. If I can help somebody, I help somebody. I ain't who's in town now, who's in town now. I ain't gonna go spend 150, 200 bucks to go see some blue people or people flying from the air. That ain't me. Okay. If I got $200, I'll go take the money, I buy some food and I'll cook some meals. So anyway, we're digressing. You talked about the stock market. You talked about Vegas. But you know what else I saw today? Did you see I saw at least three or four things where Trump and his administration, can you call it an administration? It's vomit. Okay, that's what it is. They got smashed. Couldn't fire a person in the I think it was the financial protection consumer financial protection board, and a couple of judges said, "No, no, Trump, you can't do this." So I put all those pieces together. I'm going out there doing stuff. The judges who aren't frickin' bought off, whose name isn't Clarence Thomas, okay? Or, oh God, I hear their names, Patrick, and I can see Clarence Thomas on television spinning his bullshit. And I can see Anita Hill speaking. And she was honest and she was focused and she was true. But she was nervous. She was nervous. And you can't be nervous. You gotta be fucking fearless. You gotta say, hey, screw you, big guy. I don't care who the hell you are. I got power. And I don't care if I'm only 4 foot 9 3/4 inches. I can yell loud enough to scare myself and scare the six guys in the car at 1 o'clock in the morning trying to get to me. So I'm going to let you now I'll let you talk, Patrick. Ha ha ha. Go ahead. Talk. Talk.
So there's a lot of races in Vegas. You have Formula One, you've got NASCAR, you got every imaginable dirt race. In fact, one of the greatest races that I recall in Vegas was the Desert 400. That was the theme of the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas antics of Dr. Hunter S. Thompson of the Gonzo world and everything that imbues in terms of the kind of when I think of that particular race on acid, as I recall, and all sorts of
Ah,
hallucinogens, it was like his whole thing was. I mean, it was like Mad Max before Mad Max, long before. So yeah, there's a great tradition of racing in Vegas, but the empty rooms, this, that, and the other, is an indication of the economy going down, as all of the rest of it. But as we've known through all our whole work, there's a whole lot of other variables involved and that are intricately tied to the information that we're constantly talking about because money matters, my friends, especially to those who are in the heat, drying up with no food and shelter, and you bet your ass it matters. But I wanted to bring this up. A couple of things first. Funny tonight, I was thinking about Rudolph Giuliani getting the Presidential Medal of Honor, and this guy has become a clown. He's become a dirtbag. The guy was on camera with literally the Sebastian Cohen in, whatever that second version of, he did, during the Bush years. And, he has that scene on camera with his daughter, basically providing what was going to be the service to this disgusting old perverted man. And this guy is Donald Trump's idea in light of everything that we happened over the weekend. Not to mention there was this scene, I don't know if you've seen it pop up all over the internet, but somebody was throwing garbage out of the window of the White House. What the serious F is that, first and foremost? And, and I think I heard Mark Thompson say earlier about, Melania, or no, they were throwing out the Epstein files. That's what he was laughing about. And then, of course, tomorrow, the big deal is that the
the
victims are going to have
victims,
they're going to
yes.
speak their truth in front of Congress, which is going to be fascinating. But right before we recorded, I got, for the first time in a long time, and I'm a little suspicious about this, but I got a notification of Wall Street on Parade. In fact, I was just thinking recently, I haven't
Oh,
gotten something from Pam Martins in more time than I can remember. And
yeah.
out of the blue, I received right before I hit record on this that her article, and it's exactly where my head was, that, okay, it's time for us to reveal the money behind Epstein completely. Right. And so I'm like, I wonder during this conversation if any of those questions are going to come up. But of course, the women that were, as part of the setup, they got, paid to be a part of this because they were going to go to massage school or college or everything else. And then they got, into this, kind of Weinstein / P. Diddy / Epstein scenario. And, I am very curious to see, what some of this testimony reveals. But of course, it's not going to be the money. And the money is always the thing. The money is always what is behind everything that we're trying to pull
That's
back
right.
the essence of to give people an understanding of A, how it all works, and B, what we can do to turn the tables on it because of what it means, which we've got, the totality of the story. But I wanted to tee you up with this first. So our friends Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball just did a Substack, which I thought was really interesting. But they addressed, because of relationship with those guys and my feelings towards Kyle Kalinske, but they did a revelation, and this has been a thing that I've seen recently, Roseanne, that there's been revelations of what's called the Chorus Creator Incubator Program. Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay. So the DNC and top money donors have been providing influencers up to or more than, it's starting at $8,000 per month to influence all things social media. So, as you may recall, our relationship with guys like Jack Hopkins and others at that level that have what, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of followers, and everything that they don't say, and that we know follow us or at times have been understanding or not sorry, paying attention to what we've been revealing, but they won't interact. They won't go there. They can't go there. And this goes to what we've been saying week in and week out from the likes of William K. Black, the greatest Michael Jordan criminologist in the United States, who says we got to create this platform called the Restore Program, where those running for office, in the context of the fight platform, and of course what we're presenting with the Clean New Deal, but they cannot be connected to the oligarchy. They cannot be connected to the robber barons. And that's what we're telling you. Guys, these DNC influencers, nobody's been a threat to corruption ever. They haven't been since Obama, honestly. And that's where we come in. And the whole story of the entirety of our system and this absolute collapse of everything that we are, that has garbage bags being thrown out of the White House and the Medal of Honor given to Rudolph Giuliani, is a result of corruption. What say you, my friend?
What say I is that number one, I believe um, it's easier. It's a kind of human nature thing to do something bad than it is to do something good. Okay, that's one thing. Um, when you're little, and this is one of my little stories, when you're a little kid, like I'm 5 years old, and my grandmother tells me, "Ro, go get a loaf of Dago bread." Now, I don't think anything about it. Dago bread, yeah, we don't eat white bread. I don't know what's white bread, sliced bread, okay? I eat Dago bread. So she says, go get a loaf of Dago bread. I go into the store. I say, remember, I'm 5 years old. She said, I said, can I have a loaf of Dago bread? And she says, they start laughing at me. You know what? I wasn't embarrassed. I had no idea what they were laughing at. Okay. This was what my family ate. We did not have peanut butter and jelly on white bread. I never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich as a kid. I never had a grilled cheese sandwich when I was grilled cheese and tomato soup. What? Good. What kind of frick is that? I have soup, and you put pasta into soup. You don't have no can out of the canned soup. All right. So of course, I think as a little kid, everybody is like I am. Everybody is like my family. Everybody is Italian. Everybody goes to their some grandmother or another every Sunday to eat. Every Sunday. And they sit at the table for hours and they talk about God only knows what. And the kids got to sit at a little table. Did you ever have to sit at a little table? Okay. All right. So see, there's some truth to it. There's some truth to the things we do and how we think about everybody's like us. So it always seems to me, if that's where we start out, and it's easier to think that everybody's like us, why are we always fighting with everybody? How come? My father was this real nice guy, used to do all kinds of great stuff for people. I followed what he did. My siblings weren't like me. So, what does that say about me? He didn't like hit me over the head with a magic wand and say, "You're going to be just like Chuck Rabiola." No, I just followed his example. So, right, you could have twins in a house. One does one thing, one does another thing. You could have triplets, you could have quadruplets. So, look how different we all are. But how do we start out? Do we start out bad? Do we start out good? I think we're all imperfect. So we start out, it's kind of bad unless you have some good role model. And I'm not saying it has to be your mother or your father. For me, it was a number of teachers too. If you've got a role model that's showing you this is the way you should do stuff, then this is the way you should do stuff. So, what does that do to me when I see you in the con? And as we put together, it was just a year and 1 month, going on 2 months, that we put together Patrick Lovell presents the Clean New Deal. What does that do? What does that do to me? I see the evidence. I see who you're talking to. I've gotten to be like real good friends with some of the new untouchables. They got my number in their in their phone and they go, "Roseanne." I love it. I love it. So it's hard to be good. It's easier to be bad, but I had a real easy time being good. And I didn't care if they laughed at me. I didn't care if they made fun of me. I thought, dummies, you big dummy. Go ahead, laugh. Laugh your ass off. What do I care? Okay. And here I am, 76 years old, still going, still talking about how we can make this a better place for all of us. Okay. For all of us.
Well, and I appreciate that human and very real assessment. And I thought it was beautiful how you took us into your personal story and then you connected a very fundamental but yet profound question, right? That I think we've had thousands of years of philosophers and philosophy and religion and everything else to sort it out. And we still have pretty much the same problems. Why? Because people are people, right? And they're going to go through this process and everybody's got to go through their own journey and we've all got our own journey. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. But what I've posted about on Blue Sky recently, mostly on Blue Sky, because I'm pretty much done with X. I only say really nasty things about Elon Musk and Donald Trump on X as one-liners because I know I'm completely quashed on X. I know that for a fact. Facebook for me is wasted time. Instagram's not quite the right place. But we do connect with great and real people that are listening and sharing and now giving us feedback in a way that we've been searching for and longing for a very long time. And it's incredibly important because I hope that they're thinking these questions to themselves as well. And I think those are incredibly important mile markers because I think honestly there's more, and I've always thought this, and I don't know why I think this, but I think there's more good people than bad. I don't know why I think that.
I think that too,
But
even
the
though we're
evidence seems like
imperfect.
they're silent though, and they're complicit, or they're just cowards, or they don't want to rock the boat, and whatever degree of variable that is. But you know, the nature, the human nature. I mean, there's a reason why, a lot of the times I bring up biblical metaphors, right? And I go back 5,000 years in the sort of chronology of this whole
And
thing.
it fits.
But it's all the same story. Now, people can be like, yeah, I don't believe in the freaking, fancy spaghetti monster god or whatever. Yeah, no, I neither do I. But I do believe in, I don't know, I'd like to think in good nature versus evil. I do believe in good versus evil, darkness versus light. I think of cowards and shortcuts versus the righteous grind and doing the right thing. What do I see in Roseanne Rabiola Mille that I appreciate? We're from two different universes, two different backgrounds, two different influences, but we've merged together because we're about action and doing things of integrity. What your Mother Teresa, you're a combination, I've always said, of Mother Teresa and of course Mary Magdalene. You know, you're out there in the streets providing everything you can to save people and do triage and to try to save people in desperation, which is humanly a superpower of yours, right? I mean, it's a superpower, is what I'm trying to say. But you don't do it because it's a superpower. You do it because you're driven to do it, because you get some sort of, it's your DNA for whatever reason, whether it's your dad,
Yeah.
wherever that came from. For me, it's systems. For me, it's, you know, like I've said recently, and you've known this since you've gotten to know me, I'm a competitor. I believe in the opportunity to become however you want to become, and that's your own journey. But you've got to have systems in play with rules so that everybody can play by the same rules.
And you got to have a system that's not rigged.
Right, and we've discovered not only is it rigged, it's beyond comprehension rigged, and not only are we in
Yes.
dire straits because of everything that we see with all things you know, I call it the Emperor's New Clothes on Really Bad Acid, or Don the Con Rico Pig, or any variables of Chump and Stain. And it's all of these things that are just because I call him the Mad Magazine Mad King, right? Because what he's done is he's taken everything we've said over the course of the last, during the Biden administration, which I've discovered, you know, emanating from the Obama administration, and of course Trump's in between. But what I've been saying is all of these things about the corruption that are destroying the system that's going to lead to fascism because they're degrading the laws, and they were giving tens of trillions of dollars to billionaires that have destroyed the law that is going to destroy everybody else because they're sociopaths, because they're not playing by the same rules and they're not held accountable, which means this isn't the United States. And we all know it now because Don the Con Rico Pig is doing us a favor every single day, forcing people's face into his dog pile of you know what, because he's like, eat it, eat it, eat it. Did you were a scientist working for NOAA? Okay, eat it. You were you know, a teacher at the Department of Education? Eat it. You're in the military and this and that and the other. Every aspect of society. It wasn't just in the case of the kind we focused, which was huge. 30 million people domestically, about 150 million people worldwide. Those are accurate numbers. That got set up and rug pulled, that went from people who were what we call homeowners, but different degrees of people who were into mortgages that then were feeding pensioners, and then communities and countries and counties and yada, yada, yada. So that's how giant this apparatus was, right? But there were a specific sort of, you know, scenario. Now, literally everybody is in the wake of this disaster. Okay. And you can't hide it. And people are still trying to grab at straws, trying to sort out what direction to go. You listened, and I was listening to Jen Psaki right before, you know, I pressed play because I thought it was Monday night and I was going to listen to Rachel Maddow, and I listened to 10 minutes of Jen Psaki. And I feel like I'm listening to a high schooler that has nothing to say, right? That has no insight into anything except for Trump's a joke. Oh, yeah, Trump is a joke, but the joke's on you because he's got the Supreme Court, he's got the military, he's got Congress, he's got the billionaires. The guy's walking with 5 billion at least since he's become the president. And what are you doing about it, Jen? You got nothing. But guess what? We got something.
Because
We got the full answers. So, you know what? We got about 10 minutes here. Let's try to walk through and remind people why we do what we do and what we're exactly doing, my friend.
we're gonna start first, and this is real appropriate for today. Start with, well, it's been, but this Rubik's Cube that we've got. We have these 4 questions, all right? What is qualified immunity? There are a lot of people out there on Blue Sky who know what that is. Qualified immunity refers to the, I can't even say law enforcement, okay? Because nobody knows what law enforcement is What's the National Guard? What's anybody that's supposed to be upholding law and
By
order?
the way, let me insert this. I was at a conversation with Mark Thompson, the great personality, online personality, came out of radio, fantastic talent. You know what he told me, and I know you know because I think you saw our interview. But he was talking about today that a lot of the J6 insurrectionists that were pardoned by Trump are finding their way into ICE and other aspects of law enforcement.
Of course, right? Of
Wait a
course,
second. Of course, that's
of
over the
course.
skis insanity. But
I
yes,
know,
of course.
but see, it's of course to me because all I saw growing up were the people who did the wrong things benefiting. The people who did the wrong things had the houses and the cars, and they had boats in the marinas on Lake Michigan. Okay. They had summer homes. They had all this stuff. They were doing the wrong things. And a lot of these people were law enforcement
Now
who got,
that's scary. That's scary. But wait a second. Wait a second. I was about to ask you, how did you know that? Did you just intuit it? And you might want to answer this in this.
no, I didn't just intuitive. Oh, so and so goes and he punches in for
Okay.
so and
You
so's
got you got some
mother.
inside pull because I know you were involved and you know the neighborhood and all the rest of it. Okay, so let's put that away for a moment because that's important stuff. But and I don't want to litigate it. I'm just going to accept that off the top. But at the same time, incorporating what you're talking about in the first,
Qualified
question,
immunity.
right? But think about what's going on right now. What did I see earlier today on
Oh,
the ticker tapes? Trump is still saying Chicago is a s-hole, right? That's what he's saying publicly,
yeah,
and he's
I
going to
know.
send the National Guard into Chicago.
I mean, I think he opened up his mouth to the wrong people. Okay. I could be wrong. Chicago can be really nice, but they can be so freaking mean and nasty and kick your face in and throw you in a garbage can and set it on fire. Okay?
I've seen the garbage cans on fire. I got off at the wrong train stop off the L one time. So, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But you know what? Chicago is a rough and tumble town in the city of broad shoulders. But I mean, seriously, come on. That is wild considering what you're talking about within the context of qualified immunity.
Yeah. So that they, anybody, military, law enforcement, they can't have a set of laws for them where they can get away with everything. They can't break down your door. They can't do all this stuff. They can't Rodney King you in the street.
Right, but the judge said today too they can't. It's illegal because of Pax Comitatus, right? That's the Civil War, I think, statute because you can't use the military to do the job of the police.
And the people, this is where people power comes in. Those people who are supposed to be doing all this stuff can say no. Are they going to say no? That's the power of individual and individual and individual and individual. They can say, no, we will not do this. We will not do this. Muhammad Ali went to jail. He said no. He said, I ain't gonna fight. I wouldn't have gone to fight
You
either.
bring up a very good point, and we don't bring it up enough. We should ask all of you out there who ever get a chance to watch this, and hopefully you'll like, subscribe, and share. But if you're in the military, if you're in the police department, you have an obligation to the Constitution. You don't have an obligation to a con artist in chief that stole $5 billion, who's a rapist, who's and racist, that obviously is hiding pedophilia while at the same time stealing billions of dollars. Please, if you've got a license for carrying weapons, question yourself. I have never ever said, in fact, I've said just the opposite in terms of what we're talking about with qualified immunity. I've said that, look, what we're doing within the context of the Clean New Deal is we're saying we've got to end qualified immunity. What we're
Yes.
saying is you've got to end the ability of a cop to shoot somebody and kill somebody and not be held accountable for it. Because we don't know if that was, a targeted killing. We don't know if this was a bad guy getting paid by somebody on the inside, like in one of the scariest, probably one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, seriously, was Training Day with Denzel Washington, where he was a corrupt LA cop. And as it turns out, by the way, just so you know, Roseanne, that was the work that David K. Johnston was working on revealing. No kidding. I'm not kidding. That was what
Uh,
led to Training Day. Anyway, corruption is one of the nastiest, scariest, because this is the whole point of the United States. You can't have paramilitary force for an out of the rule corrupt leader. You can't have a king yet. Tyranny. No, 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 no. The whole purpose of the revolution, the American, I mean, come on, who doesn't know this? We all know it. Now, I'm going to turn the tables to you again, but at the same time, we did run out of time. So we're not going to have time to go through the whole precepts, but let's get through the 4 questions because I think we should have a conversation about some of these at the moment,
yeah.
just like we just did.
So, but the other part of the qualified immunity is you can't have the other side where Trayvon Martin gets killed. Okay. You can't have stand your ground on bullshit. Okay. It works both ways.
Yeah, by the way, for those of you who are Second Amendment freaks and all of the rest of it, how do you feel about this 11-year-old in Houston, Texas last night, ding dong ditching and got shot in the back, who's an
Yeah.
11-year-old kid? Not to mention, obviously, we had yet another school, or yeah, it was a school shooting last week in
Yeah.
Minneapolis while they were praying, no less, right? I mean, holy freaking Toledo. But moving into the whole nature of, just again, we can't have fascist cops.
That's right.
You
We
can't.
can't have fascist people. Okay.
No, not in control. We know that. I mean, there's going to be bad clowns all over the place, but we are giving them literally the guns. The ones who invaded the Capitol on January 6th during the insurrection are now being inserted into the military force, and we've had qualified immunity for a long time. So let's move on to judicial immunity.
Then look at what we have now. This is setting up, we've got to get rid of judicial immunity, and our solution would be to expand the Supreme Court to 13 justices and actually have a canon of ethics that could be enforceable. It's always that enforcement part, okay? Why can't anybody stand up and be like the Saturday Night Massacre, where Archibald Cox said, nope. Bill Richardson says, nope.
That's right, country first, right? And then some people might say, Bill Richardson, wait, isn't he attached to the Epstein files? Yeah, but no, you're right about this. But let me point this out that I think this is an important thing that we should discuss for a moment because most attorneys, and I think people who are legal experts are going to say, what are you talking about? The fact that you have judicial immunity is what's enabled these Third Circuit judges to turn the tables and be able to launch these decisions against the Trump administration. So they'd argue that it's judicial immunity that's allowing them to make the right decision. Okay. Now it could be argued both ways, I'm sure, right? And of course, every case is a different case, which to your point, I think is the most important. It is this scenario, and this goes for qualified immunity too. This is why you have the rule of law. This is why you have investigations and why you have not what we see, I think, completely is when you have a breakdown of the character of those that are there to
Uphold the
uphold the
law.
law. That's when you have a breakdown of the entire system. But then you have to look further than that. Well, okay, so what's breaking that down? Well, because they're getting paid by billionaires, or they're
Money.
getting paid by somebody, or there's somebody who's got that. That's what we're trying to end is this revolving door of corruption and influence that, as we have shown you from the very beginning of the con all the way through Federal Reserve Act 13.3.
You know what it's sort of like? Here's your medicine. Take it.
So true.
Okay. Now, I am not adverse to taking medicine, vitamins, whatever. I will try to find gummies, I'll eat gummy vitamins or something like that instead of, just some stupid capsule. I will. If I'm gonna have to take it, I'll take it.
Are those
But
hallucinogenic ones?
no.
Oh,
Oh, I can't do no. Hey, listen, I can't do no edibles. I did that a few
I'm sorry.
years
Thank you for
ago.
that clarification.
No, 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 no. But
That's
look,
hilarious.
it is, if you're in pain, the country's in pain. The country's suffering. We're saying, here, we have a solution. You try it. Like they with the cereal. Mikey, look at Mikey, he's eating it. He likes it. Mikey, you like that stuff? Oh yeah, and he's eating and eating. How do we get people to accept what is good for them? And we have to make it palatable. We have to make it entertaining. We have to make it funny. We have to blah, blah, blah. Okay. We're not big movie stars,
Yeah,
big.
but I got to be honest with you. I'm past that though. This is why I said we've got the royal flush, and I'll just push back a little bit on what you just said because I think most people are like that. But what I'm telling you, the audience,
Tell them.
you don't
Because
you
I,
don't
I agree
understand.
with what you're going to say.
If you don't understand that we are now a totalitarian, authoritarian government, different degrees of fascism. I've never said Trump is Hitler. Why? Because Trump's not as ambitious or motivated or fucking as committed to the death of millions of people like Hitler
Yes,
was.
right.
And maybe to continue. We'll see what happens. But I find Trump to be lazy, opportunistic, complete just con artist.
Stephen Miller might be, though.
Yeah, well, and there's others that are in the Klan and the techno. Sorry, those. Trust me, Peter Thiel and all those techno bros. Yeah, I think they'd be very capable, and I think they think they know more than anybody else does. I think they think that they've seen something that's happening with populations. I'm just speculating here. I think they think in science fiction terms, where it's the end of the world scenario left and right. That's why we got to get to Mars. Blah blah blah. Even though, I mean it's just weird. They're all weird. Anybody who's involved with this Trump presidency is either a pimp, whore, parasite, or junkie of something. And you can see it all played out in the Epstein scenario, right? I mean, did that happen because of Trump? No. Was he involved with it? Yeah. Was it a whole lot of other things? Absolutely. Is he completely, meaning Trump, trying to, hide whatever his role in it is? I mean, come on. People, this is so ludicrous and absurd, but all of those things, that should be enough, right? You remember in the movie Fiddler on the Roof, or actually the play, you know, he's talking to God and he said, that would be enough, right? And then he goes on to the next thing. But guys, we're literally in a situation where we've got a climate crisis that is going to run out of control. You just had Donald Trump get rid of 629 billion in budgeting for wind, and then ultimately destroy the EPA and everything that climate science has been fostering through government research and agency over the course of the last 30 years, and they're going to absolve all of it. Okay, are you freaking kidding me? Okay? This is insanity. But let me just say this part out loud because for all of you, again, in your silos, let's say you were thinking that you were at the Department of Education and that you were just living for your pension and you were going to be able to retire and you know what, live and let live, and it's somebody else's problem until what happened to you, right? You got completely screwed. And also, beyond that, everybody in the system that's happening to. So that should be enough, right? But then it's like, no, you got to throw authoritarianism on top. You got to get rid of science. And then you find out what, Roseanne? That we've been providing tens of trillions of dollars to this system illegally that's manipulating all this shit. Are you fucking kidding me?
And everybody knows, everybody will say, everybody will agree with this, that money equals power. Money equals, is that our God? if you don't have money, you can't do shit. What can you do without money? Okay. They know it. You can give them the facts, but you can't change their mind with facts. But that's okay. You know why? Because this country does not need everybody to accept and become a vector of the truth. We
Let me
don't
ask you
need
this. Let me
everybody.
ask you this. Is the New York Times telling you this information?
No,
Okay. Is Bernie Sanders telling you this information?
no,
Not
nobody
all of it,
does.
right?
Right.
Okay.
And
Let me ask you a question. Is AOC telling you this information?
no.
What about Ro Khanna?
Oh, please, I don't even want to go with him.
We could
Okay.
just go down the list. Who is telling us
But
this
that's
information?
right. And nobody's saying it except little 4'9" and 3/4 inch person and her buddy over here, the brawler. Okay. From Texas, of all people. I thought Texas was always a shit kicker state coming from Chicago. I never thought real highly of Texas. I'm
Trust me, there's
sorry.
plenty of those folks too. But come on, man. We got Austin, we got Houston, Dallas. We got very cosmopolitan, my friend.
I know, but not in 1971. Okay. It was different when I thought San Antonio was like an armpit. And I will admit that to you. And San Antonio has made great strides, and they also have done some great things in a homeless situation. Okay.
I think San Antonio is one of the most progressive cities in the country, quite frankly, especially as
Okay.
it relates to energy. So, look, we got to come to an end on this. We didn't get through the precepts of the Clean New Deal.
But we
Go
got one more. We got one more of our Rubik's Cube questions, uh, pieces, and that is the Electoral College. And then that goes, that's again, it's all tied with the money. It's not allowing people, your vote, the popular vote, to choose who is going to be the president of the United States. If you've got electors in Wyoming with what, 7 electors, and you've got and 3.5 people, and you got uh, California with what, 50 million people, okay, that's not, you can't have the money of
Yeah,
the seven
you
electors.
said three people. Let's think about it this way. Those three people were billionaires. I mean, they've just got an exorbitant amount of
But
billions.
that's how it is.
Yeah, and what look, so my friends, what we're telling you, and we're going to keep telling you every single day until you hear it, until you share, till you like, you subscribe, till you dig into the information that we have. We've got the royal flush of truth. Why? Because we're all swimming in this ocean of madness and lies that we're going to sink, that it's a totalitarian techno bro, I mean, Peter Thiel and Palantir right up your butt, and CBDC, central bank digital currency. I was thinking of something else along those
Yeah, yeah.
lines. But guys, they're just pissing on your head, telling you what's rain. Who's they? The guys who have all the fucking money and control. It's the many versus the money. And the only way we can galvanize in a meaningful way to be able to turn the tables on this madness is to have the knowledge of truth and to be able to understand who did what, when, and how this all works. And we've got that information for you in the con at thecon.tv, and that's free. We've got the entire platform that walks you through this every step of the way, including what we're going to do and what we have to do by the millions if we show up in Washington, D.C. and surround the corruption. Okay? You can find that at www.thecleannewdeal.org. And then finally, of course, you've got to check out the new Untouchables. The new Untouchables is this team of top flight former prosecutors, investigators, people at the DOJ, the FBI, the SEC, former state AGs, and some of the most brilliant, honest, and professional people of courage and integrity and honor that are the types of people that we'd expected to rise to the ranks of power. that know exactly how to turn the tables on the system if only we get the masses behind us. That's the key consideration. We need you, me, and everyone you see who isn't a Nazi, who believes in integrity, beauty, decency, liberty, sustainability. If we come together in unity, we will purge the misery of tyranny to unleash the renaissance of possibility.
And we go on because failure is not an option.
You're a beautiful spirit, Roseanne Rabiolo Mile. We'll talk tomorrow. Talk to you soon.